My name is Cole Gomez, and I am a graduate student at Ball State University. Today, we will be discussing the functions of behavior as well as extinction, replacement behavior, and punishment. After completing this presentation, you will understand what the definition of a target behavior is, be able to identify the functions of behavior, as well as one of the many forms in which we collect data in order to determine the function of behavior. You will also learn about extinction, replacement behavior, and punishment. Here we have two terms that are used quite often throughout this presentation, so let's take a moment to define them. A target behavior is any behavior that is chosen to be altered, whether that be to be increased or decreased. Secondly, function or function of behavior is a term or phrase used to describe the reason or purpose for why a behavior is occurring. Now that we have this basic understanding, let's move on to the functions of behavior. Cooper et al. 2020 states that behavior consists of four functions. These four functions include escape, attention, tangible, and sensory. A great way to remember the four functions of behavior is with the acronym EATS. Starting with our function of escape, this occurs when a behavior results in the removal of a task or activity. For example, a mom asks her son, Jimmy, to clean his room. Jimmy begins to engage in a tantrum behavior, and as a result, the mom removes the tasks and cleans up for him. In this instance, Jimmy's tantrum behavior is reinforced by getting out of or escaping having to clean his room. Within the function of attention, this occurs when a behavior results in a response by another individual or individuals, such as looking at the person and or speaking to the person. An example of this is a teacher providing a lesson in class to her students when Sarah lets out a large grunting sound, which then causes her teacher to turn and look at her, and her peers begin to laugh. Here, Sarah's loud grunt is reinforced by the attention of her teacher and peers. Moving on to our second to last function of behavior, the tangible function occurs when a behavior results in gaining access to a preferred item or activity such as a toy, coloring, etc. An example of the tangible function is when Martin and Maria are playing basketball together on the playground. Martin takes the ball from Maria and she begins to cry. As a result, Martin gives Maria the ball back. In this instance, when Maria begins to cry, when the ball is taken away, this behavior of crying is reinforced by Martin giving her ball back. Our last function is the sensory function, which occurs when a behavior results in the ability to experience a pleasant feeling or replace an uncomfortable feeling. For example, Larry feels an itch on the back of his neck, so he begins to scratch it, which alleviates the itchy feeling. In this instance, the scratching behavior is reinforced by replacing an uncomfortable feeling. Now that you understand the function or reason for why a behavior occurs, it's important that you understand a very simple method of collecting data which will aid in identifying which function a behavior serves. This method is called ABC data, or antecedent behavior consequence. Each box that you see here is where you collect data. In the first box, you will record the antecedent, A, which is what occurs right before the behavior. In the second box, you will record what behavior has occurred, B. And then in the third box, you will describe what occurred after the behavior, the consequence, C. After thorough data collection over the course of a few days, you will most likely begin to see a pattern of behavior and be able to identify the function of the behavior. In this example, I have provided a few examples of what some of the functions may look like when written out. You will want to collect multiple days of data in order to be able to identify the function of behavior, and you will want to be very specific in which behavior you are targeting and collecting data on in order to better determine a function of behavior. One way that we can decrease a target behavior is through the use of extinction. According to Iwata et al. 1994, Extinction occurs when a behavior no longer is provided with any type of reinforcement and eventually stops occurring or decreases significantly. For example, Beatrice's yelling behavior is maintained through another individual providing attention. When this behavior is put on extinction, the parents, caregivers, and any other important person in Beatrice's life will not provide any attention to the behavior whatsoever, therefore ignoring the behavior. Eventually, Beatrice stops screaming because she is not receiving attention for it. It's also important and crucial to remember that behaviors that are put on extinction may result in an extinction burst before they completely disappear. An extinction burst occurs when a behavior shows a large increase in occurrence after a period of non-occurrence followed by decreasing back to low to no occurrences. It is important that this is kept in mind when determining if extinction procedure is the right choice for your child's target behavior. Another way we can decrease target behaviors is through the use of replacement behaviors. Pescher et al. 2009 provides a common strategy known as differential reinforcement of alternative behavior, or DRA. DRA occurs when another behavior is rewarded instead of the target behavior. In essence, we are decreasing the target behavior and increasing a preferred alternative response. For example, Dylan engages in screaming to get a cookie. When his BCBA implements a DRA, he will no longer be reinforced with a cookie when he screams, but rather when he asks, "Can I have a cookie, please?" Here, the alternative behavior that is selected is requesting and asking for a cookie rather than screaming. The last route that we will discuss today to decrease target behaviors, but is absolutely not the only route left that can be utilized, is punishment. Cooper et al. 2020 divides punishment into two subcategories: positive punishment and negative punishment. Positive punishment adds a stimulus to the environment to decrease the likelihood a behavior occurs in the future. For example, when a child hits a peer, the child is placed in a timeout. This leads to a decrease in hitting. Negative punishment involves removing a stimulus from the environment to decrease the likelihood a behavior occurs in the future. An example of this is when a child hits a peer with a toy. The technician removes a preferred toy, and this leads to a decrease in hitting. Reed and Lovett 2007 state that punishment is a controversial strategy that may be used in the field of applied behavior analysis. More times than not, punishment is a last resort, and most likely reinforcement procedures can be implemented in order to promote change in a target behavior. It is important that you discuss this with your child's BCBA and determine the best course of action. This is the end of today's parent training. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please reach out to your child's BCBA. Have a great day.